Live now from the Senate Radio TV gallery, that is Lindsey Graham, the Republican from South Carolina. He and John McCain are meeting with reporters to talk about the situation in Yemen and how the U.S. should respond. Let's listen for a bit.
That we haven't seen in 1,000 years. As we negotiate with the Iranian nuclear program, with the Iranians over their nuclear program, they have been marching through the Mideast, toppling one Arab capital after the next. And our Arab allies are faced with a terrible perfect storm. Radical Islam on the Sunni side is running wild. ISIL, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. All of these groups are getting stronger and more powerful by the day. ISIL holds territory the size of Indiana, and our Sunni Arab allies are in the crosshairs of a perfect storm. The Sunni extremists represented by ISIL and AQAP and other groups want to destroy our Sunni Arab allies in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and all the Gulf states. Part of their agenda is to purify their religion and take down the countries that have been aligned with us. The second threat being faced by our Sunni Arab allies is the encroachment of Iranian-backed militia, extremist groups, and proxies such as Assad around their borders. The operations that were launched last night, led by Saudi Arabia and I think 9 other Sunni nations, is an effort by our Arab allies to fight back against Iranian-inspired aggression. What does this matter to the American people? That the pro-Yemen government, pro-American government in Yemen was toppled by Houthi extremists supported by Iran, and Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is one of the most lethal terrorist organizations that we will have to deal with now and in the future. They're responsible for the Paris attacks. We've been driven out of Yemen by a combination of radical Sunni extremists and Houthis backed by Iran. Our friends in Saudi Arabia and others have decided to act. We're on the verge of a full-scale proxy war in Yemen between Iran and Sunni Arab states that could spill over into Syria, Iraq, Bahrain, Libya, Lebanon, Jordan. The Mideast is on fire, and it is every person for themselves. So I want the American people to know that the 3 of us support this operation to take Yemen back from the Iranian proxies. But we categorically reject President Obama's foreign policy that we believe has substantially contributed to this mess. Leading from behind is not working. It's putting the whole region in a state of chaos, and it's degrading our national security, and something must change before it's too late. Senator McCain has been more right than wrong for the last 4 years, warning us, President Obama, and the world what's going to happen if we continue down the road we're traveling. And unfortunately, this is a tipping point. This is a time in history where things have turned for the worst. This Arab coalition probably will not stop in Yemen, and Iran will probably push back. God help us all.
As we all know, Saudi Arabia, with and in coordination with other Arab states, have begun a series of air attacks in Yemen. And there is reports of further ground involvement that may take place, especially with the coordination and participation of Egypt. This in itself is a remarkable event, but it signals far more than that. It signals the reality that the countries in the region no longer have confidence or are willing to work with the United States of America. Today, in a hearing with General Austin, who is our Central Command commander, I asked him when the Saudis notified him that they would begin their attacks. He said, "Sir, I had a discussion with the Saudis the day of the attack, so it was not much before they started the attacks." And then Senator Cotton asked him, he said, General Austin said, "No, I did not have advance notice." Look at where we have come from. Our closest allies in the region no longer trust us that they wait a matter of a few hours before beginning a major military operation. It's because they no longer have any trust or confidence in the United States of America. I've heard this from their leaders on many occasions, and now we have seen it translated into unilateral, when I say unilateral, non-American participation, major conflict. And I understand why these countries, led by Saudi Arabia, did not notify us nor seek our coordination or assistance in this effort. And that is because they believe that we are siding with Iran. A Middle Eastern head of one of the Gulf countries told me, and I quote him, "We believe that it is more dangerous to be a friend of America's than an enemy." And I heard repeatedly from leaders in the region that they believe that we are forming some kind of Faustian bargain with the Iranians, which would then lead to the great danger to those countries. I would also point out the geographic location of Yemen made it imperative that the Gulf states and Egypt and the Saudis could not stand having Yemen under the control of the Iranian-backed organization known as the Houthis. This conflict...
Three Republican senators who could be classified, I think, as war hawks: Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, John McCain of Arizona, and Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire, are holding a news conference in the Senate gallery there to talk about the incursion into Yemen by Saudi Arabian troops. Saudi Arabian Air Force planes bombed key military installations yesterday, or earlier today, I should say, leading a regional coalition in a campaign against those Shiite rebels who have taken over much of that country and who drove out the president. There is word this afternoon now that the Yemeni president is now in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, so apparently we didn't know where the president was. We knew that he'd fled the capital of Sana'a. Now apparently he is in Saudi Arabia as well. Egyptian military and security officials told the Associated Press the military intervention will go further with a ground assault into Yemen by Egyptian, Saudi, and other forces. There are some reports that there could be as many as 15,000 Saudi troops involved in that. So it's something we'll have to watch very carefully. You heard those three Republican senators blister the White House for their lack of action on this military intervention.